Hey, love. Welcome to No Matcha, No Mama, the podcast where we pour a little matcha and a whole lot of truth. Every week, I sit with someone I admire, founders, healers, creatives, and friends, and we share a matcha I've crafted just for them. Everything here is intentional. The ingredients in your cup, the energy that we bring, the stories that we open. But this is more than just a podcast. It's a space for feeling seen, understood, and reminded that whatever you are walking through, you are not walking through it alone. At its heart, the show is about exploring how we can truly thrive through all the mess and magic of being human. There's also space to explore the evolving world of longevity and aging well, from new discoveries, treatments, and practices that actually make a difference in our lives so that we can keep showing up for ourselves, our families, and our communities, while remembering that we are all figuring it out as we go. And here we start with matcha, because how we start matters. Hi.
Hi.
So today with me, I have Katie Grossman. She is a warrior Ayurveda and Marma specialist whose work blends somatic awareness, bodywork, and energy healing in a way that helps people come back home into their nervous systems. She came into this work through her own healing journey and now supports others through stress, transition, and the deeper layers of what our bodies hold, from hormonal shifts to ancestral patterns to long-stored trauma. And her approach is intuitive, grounded, and incredibly nourishing. And I'm so excited to have this conversation. So let's dive in. So instead of matcha, because I know you don't drink caffeine, I made you a ginger tea.
Thank you.
Because it's more about the intention than about the matcha for this. And so matcha is my ritual in the morning. So I was wondering, what is it that you do to start your day? Like, what is a non-negotiable for you?
Well, I am big into discipline without rigidity. Mm-hmm. And so I like to have something first thing in the morning for my belly, but what it is going to change depending how I feel. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's a hot water, sometimes it's bone broth, sometimes it's a cacao, sometimes...
Ooh, I love cacao.
Yeah, that's my one, my caffeine adjacent.
Well, because it's not really caffeine, but there is like a little bit of a stimulant in it.
Yeah. And I do a very ceremonial, and I really...
Beautiful.
And I love to chant mantra over whatever I make, and I light an incense first thing in the morning and just have a pause and just kind of try to be really ceremonial about how I start the day.
I think that's beautiful. Yeah. I wish I could be a little bit more like that. This morning I was literally laying in bed and it was before 6:20 and I was like, I should really get up and meditate in front of my red light. And then 2 minutes later, Roma was awake. And I was like, well, I guess I didn't have time to do that today.
Being a mom is the meditation, Mom life is its own meditation.
And it's not like I can do the red light with her in the room because you have to wear protective eyeglasses. Yeah. So I don't want to ruin her eyes.
Yeah.
The first time I turned on the red light, I didn't wear the protective eyewear, and I was like, I'm probably going to mess up my vision if I don't do that. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm just going to move this.
Thank you. Well, thank you for
in front.
having me, and thank you for my very intentional ginger tea.
You're so welcome.
It. Yeah.
Peak tea is what I use because it's in the little packets. Mm-hmm. I use their matcha, all their teas, and amazing. What I love about it is you can put it into hot water or cold water.
Amazing.
Yeah,
thank
makes
you.
It super easy. It's delicious. So before we get into the modality itself, I'd love to hear the origin story of you. What was happening in your own life or body that brought you to this work, and the moment that you realized that your nervous system needing something that you couldn't find anywhere else?
So I was a sick kid, kind of undiagnosed. Mm-hmm. I had just aches and pains that I kind of was so young when some of that started that I didn't really know it was not normal. Mm-hmm. And I particularly it hurt to pee, and I didn't talk about that because I was young. I was 5. And so I don't know if it was a mix of shame and also just confusion, not understanding my body and trying to learn that. So some of my symptoms that started really young, I just kind of never really addressed. And then as I got older and I would complain about things, it's just... It literally took until I was about 29 or 28 to get a full diagnosis of what I had. So
God.
I had digestive issues.
That's a long time.
Yeah. So it's I think growing up, you don't, everyone's like, oh, you're a hypochondriac. Nothing's wrong with you. You're fine. But I had a lot of little things that were connected that I didn't know were connected. And so, I had a lot of...
Who figured it out?
I ended up, after like 7 years of not going to a doctor, I ended up at a friend's place, crippled in pain, which was very common for me.
What kind of pain?
I have a lot of, I had endometriosis. So like my cycles were awful, but kind of all month was awful. I used to say I would have I had like one good day a month. And at this point I was really not that super functional.
So you were just like really sick all the time.
Yeah. Just like always nauseous. So digestive, reproductive, just
not the way that you want to live life.
No, not living really. Kind of, I always say it was like hovering between worlds. And I always felt like I wasn't really in the land of the living and I wasn't dead. So I kind of
Did you even like want to be here when you were in that much pain?
I had many years of wanting to leave. Like I always said, I lived my life with like one foot out the door. I was like, well, I can always just leave, like that there was a lot of ideation and a lot of just, mental and emotional stress and pain because there was so much, and I couldn't make sense of it. It's not like I had like a big T trauma or anything that was memorable from my childhood. So it was really hard to kind of understand like how could I feel this bad, but with like no inciting event or thing. And I call it like I had my self-destructive years to try to get out of pain, which was like just trying to make the pain go away by hurting myself and by numbing myself. And then I had myself...
Did you use alcohol?
I mean, alcohol, pills.
Anything.
I cut for a little while. I very, very bad aggressive eating disorders. Very like... I was 105 pounds, like really like super gnarly bulimic tendencies. Just like, I always say like the root of that felt like I'm dirty. That was I want to be clean. And there was this like, I don't know where that came from.
Wow.
And it was just this constant feeling of like, I need everything out of me all the time and kind of like a weird OCD of my body in a strange way, like turned inwards.
That sounds really rough.
Abusive relationships just because I got tired of hurting myself. I was very aware. I was like, oh,
right.
That unavailable guy looks great because he can hurt me and then I can blame it on him and I can outsource my hurt now.
Right, because I'm not the one hurting myself. It's like somebody else.
I got too tired. I was like, I'm too tired of self-abuse. So I'm going to just outsource. And I was aware at 19, like that I was doing that. Right. I didn't know how to not do it. I just had the awareness, right? People are like, awareness is so key. But if you have the awareness and you don't know how to change it.
And you just keep doing it.
You're like in a loop. And so... And I've always been spiritual and I've always been a seeker and I've always been a questioner. And I kind of felt like none of my questions ever felt like they got answered.
Yeah.
And I always felt like I was going to doctors and I felt like I was falling through the cracks. And I always kind of felt like, I would say the word that used to come up is like I felt dropped a lot. Like I felt like I'd go to this thing and then I'd kind of get dropped or like, oh, I don't know what you have or you're fine or here's another pill. And so I was put on all kinds of pills. My relationship to pills was, oh, like the Advil's not working, take more. Oh, it's not working, take it now. Take it again and again and again. And so then when I started getting put on other medications, I just would take as many, my relationship to things, if it doesn't work, keep taking it, take more and more and more. So like, just all the systems in my body just were pretty shot. And I kind of went through I had varying versions of spiritual awakenings during my life. And a really prominent one was when I was really sick with a lot of those eating disorders and I was in college and I was about 19. And it was funny because my parents I wouldn't call them classically spiritual, but they definitely, I don't know, for whatever reason, they were taking a Buddhist meditation class at the time and they were reading Chogyam Trungpa's Path of the Peaceful Warrior or something like that. And they handed me the book. I was really unwell. If I was a certain weight, I wouldn't get out of bed for the day. And they didn't know what was going on.
If you were too heavy?
Yeah, I was like, oh, if I'm 110 pounds, I'm not leaving bed today. It was like that. But they didn't know. I was in the house, but no one knew.
Right. It was all in your head.
Totally. And I remember they came in, they were like, feel like you're not happy. And I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely not happy for sure. I'm like, that's the baseline of what's going on here. And they're like, here, maybe you want to come to the meditation with us. Here's the book we're reading. And I sat there and I had nothing to do. So I was reading the book all day. And there was a passage about, your body is a temple. You shouldn't spray paint on your temple. You've got this one temple. And I was like, holy shit. Sorry, I don't know if I can curse. I was like, okay, I've been spray painting on my temple. I gotta change this. And that was the beginning of a massive self-healing that I went through. And I found yoga. I ended up doing a yoga teacher training. my last year of college, and I learned about Ayurveda, and I learned just that there were other ways to manage my stress and anxiety through breath work. I slowly tapered and like cold turkeyed off of a lot of different things that I'd been kind of using to cope. And I didn't really have guidance. Like I asked for help. I didn't feel like I got the help I needed. So I just helped myself, and I really pulled myself out of that ditch.
Yeah.
And like I'd lost my period for a year. Like I was definitely like on that descent, you know? And so, and when my body was kind of reconstituting, I was with a vengeance. So a lot of my symptoms kind of got louder and worse. And so I would have like 16 canker sores inside my mouth every 2 weeks. I couldn't speak. Like it was so
What were those
brutal.
from?
Just acid and like all the NSAIDs and all the
throwing up.
Also just from just acidity from just all the like Advil and all the like my whole gut, like
everything was so
nothing
messed
worked.
up.
I had abused all these enema. I had just like totally wrecked my body. I couldn't go to the bathroom on my own. My whole peristalsis was messed up because I was abusing enemas all day. And so everything was just like, we don't work for you anymore.
You were just like really hurting yourself.
The messages were not communicating.
No.
So it was a full it was like I just slowly, I made my own rules. I was like, okay, you're going to count calories. You can only go to a farmer's market. You can only buy things with no calorie on it. You can only eat by yourself mindfully. Like I just basically researched things and just like started, I don't know, it was very
obsessive.
Yeah.
Well, that's what eating disorders are generally. I've had one too. So it's I think a lot of women struggle with one. So it's really challenging.
Oh, yeah. And I was like, I've got to figure this out.
Yeah.
And so the yoga was really, that became the new addiction. And so then I got into many years of like all of the healing things becoming a way to escape my pain. And so even
because you were still suffering.
Yeah. And so even meeting my mentor and getting into all the work that I still do now was still a form of, I want to escape. You want something else to focus on. I want to get out of my body.
Right.
I'll breathe. I'll breath work out of my body. I'll journal out of my body. I'll meditate out of my body.
Right.
And then I'll escape the pain. And so even my training and my whole, which was pretty much the duration of my 20s, I graduated college. I ended up meeting my mentor just after turning 22, a few months after school ended. And he was a complicated but very he really helped me, and also it was a very complicated relationship. And he gave me a lifeline though, and he was like, I'm young in this. I mean, he'd been doing it forever, and he was about 12 years older than me, but he's like, I'm going to get you healthy enough to go study with my teacher. I'm going to try to connect you with the right people. I know I can't do it, but I can connect you to the people who I think can help. So
he saw what was going on with you and he wanted you to change it.
After years of being misdiagnosed, I took a session from him and he looked at me and I felt like he had x-ray vision. And he told me, he's like, this is going here, this is happening, this is what's going on, this is your body type. It was the first time I'd ever felt seen. It was the first time I'd ever felt like, oh my God, I have hope. Like it
so
really
it wasn't even a doctor that helped diagnose you.
And he didn't give me he didn't say endometriosis. He didn't say those words, but he said, this is what is going on
in your body.
He's like, in Ayurvedic terms, these are the words we would use, but this is essentially what's happening. Laid me down, gave me a treatment. It literally felt like coming home. And I was so shy and so quiet at the time, so I didn't say a word. And in my head, I was like, I want to learn this. Because I was already wanting to learn bodywork, already really wanted to study Ayurveda, was kind of looking for my teacher. And had been told your teacher will find you, whatever.
He found you.
Yeah. And so I went back 10 days later for my second session and he asked if I wanted to study. He's like, you're a very rare body type. You have a very complex situation with your health. You will not heal as a client. You need to live and learn this and completely immerse. It's a preventative health system and you're trying to fix something. You're going to have to go at this a different way.
Wow.
It's a 7 to 10 year apprenticeship that I would be offering to you. You'd live and work with me. This is old school Indian style.
So how long ago was this?
I was 22 until I was just shy of 29. So about 7.5 years I lived and worked with him and apprenticed with him.
Where did he live?
At the time, he was between here and in LA and New York. And so I was in New York.
Okay. So you stayed in New York.
So I was based there.
Okay.
And then I became bicoastal within about 9 months of starting to train. And I started coming out here and and about a year and a half out, he's like, you're too sick to go to India. You really just need to work with my teacher, but I'm going to like help you. I'll give you the steps. Let's get you healthy so we can take you to India. And then I went. About a year and a half later, I met my teacher.
How soon after the apprenticeship did you start feeling better?
Oh, like within 2 weeks of just, he had me like doing raw dairy, drinking raw buttermilk. All the canker sores went away. I didn't get one for 5 years. I only get them if I bite my lip now. Like I don't get them internally.
Right.
I had like my inflammation, just everything within like 6 months, like so much changed. Simultaneously, there were like a lot of other things that ended up transpiring in that dynamic and relationship that was its own trauma and story, as tropes are. But like it was very healing, and it was a mixed bag, you know, which is what a lot of those kind of dynamics can be like. But my symptoms like dramatically changed. My periods went from being 12 days every 2 weeks, like super whatever, to being like
12 days.
Oh, I would have these horrible, like I was like, and it went 5 to 7 days every month, like normal. And then slowly over the years, now I'm like
shortened
3.5 days, every 26, like so it just got better and better for a while. And then hormones changed, circumstances changed, stress factors, environment changed, dynamics changed, and things got worse again. And I hadn't been to a doctor in a minute because I was kind of like, felt like I was living with one. And and in India, like my teacher, you know, had a pretty good, like accurate diagnosis of what was going on. And so I was trying so hard, but there were still things that was coming up. Did you like Zoom
with him if he was in India?
We used to talk to him almost every day, like by phone, but we would Skype a lot. I still FaceTime with him. I am way overdue for a trip there. But every year and a half I would go for about 4 to 6 weeks and spend time there. And so, it's like hard on my body. So I would, you know, do as much as I could do and then I'd go home. But yeah, he just took me into the family tradition and into the lineage. He met me from day one. He's like, you're my daughter. And he just took me in and took me on. And it has been like one of the most profound experiences of my life. Like he stands to be like still just like the best support. And it's like family. And I really feel very fortunate. And it felt so random. Like I didn't know how it happened. You know?
All kind of fell into place like it needed to.
Yeah.
So when you went to a doctor, did they actually diagnose you or what happened there? So I had been to doctors because I was still having like all of these issues. And every time I go to the gyno, they're like, nothing's wrong. They'd give me antibiotics, all these things. And I just once they prescribed, I'm allergic to antibiotics. So they prescribed me something I was allergic to. Dwayne Reed caught it. And I was like, I'm done with doctors. I was like, they're now prescribing me things I'm allergic to. So it'd been maybe like 6 years since I'd properly been to a doctor. And things were just falling apart in many areas of my life. I was at a friend's place. I was like hurled over the toilet, just like in so much pain, crying. She's like, you need to talk to my friend. So she puts me on the phone with a friend of hers. And she's like, how old are you at this point? Sorry.
28.
So this was after you had done most of your apprenticeship,
a lot of my
and
training.
then you got sick again.
Well, because there were a lot of dynamics that kind of started bringing all these different symptoms like back. And also women, we go through these hormonal changes. So my symptoms in my late teens and early 20s was different from like mid to late 20s, right? We have these hormonal shifts and all of a sudden I'm like migraines every 3 days. Like just.
I hear you on the migraines. I've suffered from a lot of those.
Yeah. Brutal. Sorry that you've dealt with that too. It's like, it takes you out.
Yeah.
And so and there were just so many complications in the dynamics I was in. So like the healing space had become also very stressful.
A little toxic.
And very toxic. Okay. But like still beautifully so in a way where now in all these years after I'm like, I get it. I like see the full picture. Yeah. It's like the shadow and the light of all of it. But it started to turn on me basically. So who was the friend? So the friend is a friend of mine named Victoria. She was just a friend. I was staying at her place. But no, who's the friend that she spoke to? Yeah. It's horrible. I don't remember her name. It was her friend. And she had just had surgery with like one of the top surgeons in the US for endometriosis. So she gets on the phone and she just starts asking me every symptom. And I have every single thing. And the reason why she knew is because she had it. Yeah. She asked me every symptom. I have every symptom. She's like, get off the phone with me. Call this number, tell them I referred you. you have endometriosis. And I was like, okay, I'd never heard of it.
Oh my God.
And I've heard of a lot of things because I've been working with people with all kinds of crazy stuff for years and years at this point. You know, I've seen thousands of people through the work that I do. And I call the number. They get me into an appointment 10 days later. My mentor and I drive up there. We were in like kind of San Pedro, like north, kind of near Stanford, like medical. And I get in the office, and the first thing the surgeon says to me, looks me dead in the eyes, like, you're a meditator. And I was like, yeah, I am. He's like, you've tried everything. I was like, I really have. He's like, people only come here when they've tried everything. And he did like a little diagnostic on me. It was a long like packet I had to fill out. And he's like, 80% chance you have endometriosis. You might have some other co-infections as well, or co-diseases as well. I recommend the surgery, which of course every surgeon's going to do. And I never had surgery, was like not into doctors.
Right.
But there was just something about it where I was like, I think I need this. And he's like, the only way we can really diagnose this is if you get surgery. So 6 weeks later.
You got the surgery.
Yeah. And my parents were I called them. I was like, I'm getting surgery. They're like, what do you mean? You haven't been to a doctor. Like, what do you mean you're getting surgery? They're like, you need a second opinion. I was like, no, I don't need a second opinion. So they started They started asking their friends about this doctor, Dr. Najat. And they called me. They're like, how did you get to this doctor? Like, he's the second opinion that everyone sees. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, it was divine.
It happened.
I was like, I got good juju. Like, I don't know. I got in the right place. Worst fear going to surgery is they're going to find nothing for me. It's like after years being told nothing's wrong. You want to know
what it is.
Totally.
At this point.
So I get out of the surgery. They're like, yeah, you had endo everywhere. We had to take it off. Like,
what is endometriosis?
Endometriosis is, they don't really totally know, but they basically tell you it's the endometrium, like the tissue. Sometimes it's inside or around the uterus. It's like when you bleed, the endometrium that's kind of clearing out, instead of fully coming out, it kind of goes back up into your body and the cells start to create like a stretchy, it's almost like rubber bandy. I always say it creates the boundaries you're not creating for yourself. And it basically can grow, I think, almost on every organ besides for the spleen.
So is it like a bacteria?
No, it's like tissue.
Fungus?
It's like fibrosis. It's like it creates a fibrous tissue, and it connects all your shit together and basically binds things and creates a lot of inflammation. So that's why you were in so much pain. Yeah. Well, and then I ended up also having cysts on both ovaries that were missed, and which actually I think was causing
Did they remove those
when
they
removed
were
the
in
cysts,
there?
yeah. And then what they do in that surgery is they cauterize all of the endometrial tissue from all the organs. Right. And
so these make sure that they don't keep going?
Yeah. I mean, also just to clear it, so that you're not having, and they basically do everything to preserve and not take organs out. And then I also had a condition called interstitial cystitis, which my grandmother had, and it was, and she had like lobbied it was like her life's work. She ran the first national hotline in the country out of her kitchen, supporting women with this like really rare bladder condition. Wow. Which is basically.
Oh, which makes sense because it hurt to pee when you were little.
Yeah. And so for all these years, like I knew grandma had urgency, grandma had all these issues.
Oh my God.
But I didn't like put it together. We never put it together. And I didn't know this, but she had also had endometriosis. And so it was just like all the miscommunication. I think it's more epigenetic. I think it's stress patterns. It's where you hold stress in your body. Okay. I don't really believe in things are genetic. I believe we have patterning, and those patterns kind of show up in the body in a certain way. But I do have other family members who hold stress in the same areas. And so yeah, it was kind of wild. And it's basically like a chronic inflammation of the bladder. And a certain percentage of people have lesions on the bladder, which I had. And so they do this thing where they like push a bunch of liquid into the bladder to like push the lesions off and like kind of expand it. Wow. So yeah, it was like at least it was productive, Yeah. But the thing with surgery with this particular condition, first of all, they can't tell you where it comes from and they can't tell you how to get rid of it. The things they told my grandmother to do, I don't know, 50 years ago or the same.
The bladder condition.
For bladder endo, for all these kind of autoinflammatory women's pelvic health.
They don't know where it comes from.
They don't know where it comes from. They don't know how you get it and like medically. And they don't know how to get rid of it. So the only way they know how to get rid of it is you stop bleeding. So you either you get pregnant, you go into like a medical induced menopause, or you go on birth control.
Or can you take out
Even people who have taken out their uterus, there can be microcells that grow. So honestly, like the surgery can give you a little relief, and it at least will let you know what you're dealing with. But many people go in for multiple surgeries. And I was like, I'm never going to surgery again. I'm going to heal this naturally, and I'm going to find.
Did you?
I mean, I haven't gone back in there, so I don't know what's going on in there, but I would consider myself pain-free. I'm a little over 7 years out of that surgery.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm determined to figure out the mental, emotional, energetic root cause.
Because it's probably that.
Yeah.
It's all that.
Yeah. And so the journey shifted after that for me.
Wow.
And it became, okay, what the work I do now is like that body work and all of the stuff that I learned from India is like so my foundation. It put me on this path. It like helped me clear so much debris and so much noise and static so I could get to that point. And the surgeon said, he's like, I've never seen someone who had that kind of condition or like that level with such healthy organs. And he's like, whatever you're doing has been like amazing. But I had where it was growing and what it was doing I do believe the surgery was helpful.
Good.
And but I was like, I'm never getting surgery again, and I'm going to heal this naturally. So I went on a very, stubborn route after that. And that's when I learned even more about the nervous system. So even though I'd been doing that work, I was like, I dove very deeply into like deep somatic psychotherapy, like all different other kinds of healing tech, modalities, all kinds of things to get to the place where I am now.
Okay, so let's
Sorry,
talk.
that was a long origin story.
No. I'm so glad that we talked about all that because it's fascinating. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about, because you just mentioned your work.
Yeah.
So you like created a hybrid of somatic work, Ayurveda, and energy healing. So what makes your approach different from traditional somatic therapy or like classic energy work?
So I think each person who does anything, whether it's like a modality you learn or something that arises, it's like you are the tuning fork, right? So like I always say, I'm a tool, use me as needed.
Yeah.
Right. And so for me, I think what sets me or any practitioner apart from someone else is like the frequency of the person's holding. And so I have a certain kind of signature, and through my own experience and my own resonance and my own healing, when I'm touching you or I'm presencing with you, you're getting that, And so I think that's what kind of differentiates people.
Right.
Ultimately, you can have two people who are doing Rolfing or two people who are doing any modality. Like me and my teacher both practice Marma, but I mean,
what is Marma?
So Marma.
Let's talk about what Marma is.
Yeah, Marma. Marma means many things because in Sanskrit, one word has so many meanings. But the ones that I kind of resonate with are secret and doorway.
Okay. And
so Marma are these kind of vortices, pressure points that live all over the body. Marma is also a martial art, so it also means to kill. And when you access these pressure points in a healing modality, you're basically pressing on a point that goes over every tissue in the body. And so they kind of become, like when you press them in a certain sequence, it kind of reboots and supports the nervous system. So it can be used to tonify and make your nervous system present. It can be used to heal and just like detox and get everything kind of moving and shifting out of your system and holding patterns and resetting the nervous system into a parasympathetic dominant state. And as the more like martial science, it would be used to trap air and electricity into the nervous system. So, when you like wake up and your neck is tight because you have like gas trapped and you can't move and it destabilizes. So the kill science destabilizes. So you can trap air and gas into the body through these points. And then the healing science is like pulling the gas out of the tissue so that all the energy in the body can flow freely. And so it has a very like tonifying, detoxifying, presencing effect. And when you support the nervous system, which is the root system of the body, and you come to a parasympathetic dominant state, the body kind of heals and naturally takes care of itself. So it supports endocrine function and digestion and just all the different systems of the body because you're getting to the root, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And so Marma, I studied a particularly like a warrior tradition, like of this family lineage that I studied in India. So that's also niche on its own accord. Marma is sometimes practiced in Ayurveda and people will use Marma points, but it's not as common to find just like a specific Marma specialist. It's like something that I've specialized in. And, they say for like every family in India, you have a different There's like different things. So it's like no two things are the same. So it has its own flavor. And then, yeah, like energy work for me, that's been a very intuitive thing. It's something that's just like kind of been a part of me. I've done Reiki trainings. I studied energy medicine. I've like done some of that, but those things have just given me and Marma is very energetic. It's as deeply physical as it is energetic. And so that's just been something that's like evolved and grown with me. Like I remember when I met my mentor, he's like, you're already a healer. He's like, I'm teaching you because you are this. I can't teach someone to be this. But I can give you a system and a structure and a modality, and you can use that as a backbone to hone and understand your skill set. And it gave me a structure to work within, just like Reiki did in all those other systems, but Marma has definitely been the backbone of that.
I remember you mentioned in our session, you operate in a parasympathetic state.
I try to.
You try to.
Yeah.
How did you get to stay in that? Because we talked a little bit about like how most people are in like a fight or flight most of the time.
Yeah.
How did you get to that place? Like what were the things that you did? Because you talk about how you're like a tuning fork and you're like, you are very calm. So how do you get there, and what did you do, and how can
we all
try to live in a more of a parasympathetic state?
Yeah. So the idea is to just be adaptable. So we're never going to stay just parasympathetic all the time, but we want that to be our dominant holding pattern.
Yeah, dominant.
So that, not even holding pattern, just like our dominant state, so that we only go into stress states when there's a stressful event happening in the present moment, right? Whereas many of us are kind of stressed. We learn these stress states through basically the way it was explained to me by a practitioner I worked with very closely in the last couple of years. And she's really shifted my understanding of this. She explained to me, her name's Alicia Fajardo, and I can give you her info to like add in if you want to share that with people, because she's unbelievable. But she basically explained to me most people are in a sympathetic dominant holding pattern. It doesn't even have to be from a trauma. It can just be from motor skill patterning. So like when we're stressed, we have a certain way that we move our bodies. So if I'm a parasympathetic and I'm in a calm kind of regulated state, if I'm going to grab a cup, I'm going to grab it a little bit differently based on the environment I'm in. But if I'm in a sympathetic or a stress state, depending on which state I'm in, I kind of it's like getting locked into a gear in a car, and I'm going to go and I'm going to pick it up the same exact way when I'm in that state every time. So then you start to get repetitive motion injuries and issues. And because your fascia gets more dehydrated and parts of your system are more contracted, and you're not in that like rest and digest state, you tend to have more wear and tear on the body because you're operating this low-grade stress state. And what she explained was like, whenever a stressful thing happens, you switch into the other thing. So naturally, we're meant to be parasympathetic dominant. And if something happens in the environment, we switch into
sympathetic.
Yeah, which is good. We want that, right? And we go into whichever one is appropriate. Now, what happens is some people stay, or some people never were parasympathetic dominant to begin with, because the way we learn is through experience. So if we are raised by nervous systems, the people who are caretakers, they're not regulated, and they have their own traumas that have been stuck with them, and they're stuck in a gear, which most people are. Like 80% of the population probably. I asked her recently, and that I thought it was a little more. I was like, I think it's 90. She's like, I think it's 80.
It might be.
somewhere in there. And so what happens is if a kid is growing up around a nervous system that's in that sympathetic state, they're learning their motor skills from watching us and from being around us and from us attuning to them. So if they can feel whether there's real presence or not. And so they can feel the difference. And so they'll pick up those patterns in their body because that's how they learn how to move. So a lot of us, it doesn't have to be some car accident or some big horrible thing to be this way. It's very little things, right?
Yeah.
And so what happens is most people are sympathetic. So what happens is when you get stressed, you go into parasympathetic. So then people start getting very addicted to chaotic or stressful situations because it's the only time their nervous system kind of shifts into a more relaxed state. And so it causes a lot of dissonance for people. They can be in patterns and like, why does it feel good? Why does it feel good? And sometimes, I mean, this isn't something she spoke about. This is something I've kind of derived.
Oh, so because you're living in a sympathetic place, when something stressful actually happens, you feel more relaxed?
You switch into parasympathetic because your nervous system's going to switch gears because it's going to go the other way.
Oh my God.
Which she would explain to me. And then I'm really into Jungian psychology and like all trying to understand, the unconscious. And I was like,
wow.
I kind of was starting to play with this idea of like, it doesn't matter how much work you do, right? You meet people all the time who've done all this work on themselves and they talk the talk, but then you watch them in their lives and you're like, they
seem stressed.
Or they're in the same loop or they're like constantly doing the same thing. I've been one of them and I am always trying to work out of that. And what I realized is if your nervous system is still kind of sympathetic dominant, it doesn't matter how much you know. It's almost like the more you know, the more dissonance happens in your field because consciously you're like, why am I still doing this? But your nervous system is responding in the opposite way.
Oh my God.
Which is like most people, especially like even in wellness, you see it in all across the board, right? And so you're like, people become so paradoxical and you don't experience coherence. And so I had done so much mental work and my nervous system was like so over here. It was like first grade and 12th grade. And I was like, I gotta bridge the gap if I'm going to be coherent, if I'm going to actually try to feel whole in myself and like be able to really offer something useful to people. And so Alicia's work was amazing. It was very helpful to me. It was like, I would say 3 things that helped me. It was her work. She does something called biomechanics and motor repatterning. And it basically makes you track certain parts of your body while you're repatterning motor skills so that your nervous system, your unconscious mind starts to map really where you are in time space. And once it knows that you're safe, it basically can shift into parasympathetic. And she says about after 9 months of like that work, most people can kind of become parasympathetic dominant.
Like once a week?
I was with her like 2 to 3 times a month for about 9 months. At like the 6-month mark, I was in a lot of shifting. I had a lot going on in my life. So I ended up doing like some of her online stuff instead of working with her one-on-one. By that point, I knew the work well enough that I could do it. And then I kind of came back to it. And it's like always something that's part of my maintenance. Yeah. And I don't need it as often anymore. But her work's amazing. And
I'm so excited. I reached out to her, but we haven't quite
connected.
Well, because she's like offering me like evenings on weekdays. And I'm like, I'm a mom. It's the middle of like dinner.
Yeah.
I can't.
When it syncs up,
it'll sync up eventually. We just haven't yet. But I'm excited.
She's profound. And I have amazing homeopaths that I work with that we've spoken about. Homeopathy is like an amazing modality and medicine. They have been instrumental in supporting not just my nervous system, but it's frequency medicine, basically. And when you're given the correct remedy to support your system, it's literally like a magic pill. Like it feels magical.
I can't wait for that either. I'm going to do it too.
It's very subtle. These are very subtle systems and they can take some time. And so
can you talk a little bit more about what homeopathy is since you just brought it up?
I'm not a homeopath, so I could butcher this, but essentially
just kind of just so that people understand, because someone's going to be like, what's homeopathy?
Homeopathy is kind of, I consider it a frequency medicine. They're kind of the idea is like if you find the right remedy. So for example, there's one common remedy. It's for inflammation from like a bee sting. And the remedy is like bee venom. But it's a frequency of the bee venom. So it's not the venom itself. It's like they kind of copy the frequency and put it into like a sugar pill, like a arnica or whatever you'd put under your tongue, which is kind of more common for people as a remedy. And they take the frequency at different doses. And if you take it at the right time, at the right dose for the right situation, the symptom just goes away. And so it's like giving a little bit like the, what do they call it? The hair of the dog kind of. It's a little bit kind of that concept and idea. And there's many different ways that homeopaths work. These homeopaths work on many different levels and they blow my mind every time. And so, I'm currently detoxing from a remedy right now, which is amazing. And it's very emotional and energetic, but then it obviously deepens into the physical. So that was really instrumental. Especially like it can just like cut certain patterns and things we've inherited and
sign me up.
Yeah, like great. And like they're funny. They'll like ask you all these crazy questions.
And you'll be like, what does this have to do with it?
You're like, I don't know what they're talking about. And then at the end of the call, they'll be like, okay, we know your remedy. And then they just hang up. They don't tell you why. They don't tell you what they're giving you. They send you an email with some name that you're not going to understand. You're going to try to look it up. You'll really have no idea what they're treating you for. And you just follow it. And it does work.
Just trust.
It works.
Just trust.
And then I had an amazing somatic psychotherapist. And he really taught me like how to do somatic tracking. And I did that for a couple of years.
What's somatic tracking?
Somatic tracking is kind of like it's similar to like a body scan in meditation.
Okay.
So if you're going to like close your eyes and kind of go into your body, say you're feeling stressed out, whatever your stress pattern is, right? So for me, maybe it's like I get this kind of bubbly effervescence in my chest and it kind of spreads outward.
Here.
Yeah. And so what you do is you would kind of, for me, I close my eyes and I'd go into the feeling. And when you have someone else sit with you in that feeling and you have a co-regulatory experience, then you can eventually over time internalize that and begin to self-regulate and do the tracking on your own. Because you had a nervous system experience. Because the nervous system only knows what it experiences. It doesn't know anything from your brain. It only knows its experience. So if you had like parents that weren't really like, say you like fell off your bike and you came home and your mom was busy and she was cooking and you're like, Mama, and it was whatever, and no one was there, and she's like, go to your room. I can't deal with it right now.
Yeah,
which is like not on her. It's just life, you know. And you go to your room and you're like, that becomes kind of embedded in your nervous system, technically as a little T trauma.
Wow. Okay, so what's the difference? Sorry, what's the difference between a big T trauma and a little T trauma? Because I wanted to ask earlier.
That it's kind of spoken about would be like a big T trauma is like a car accident.
Okay, something bigger.
Or like
and then little T is just like
little
small
T are these
little
like ruptures. These little ruptures that happen all the time, right? We have them all in all kinds of relationships and situations. I fell off my bike. I almost got in an accident, or you know, like whatever. Those little things that don't float, but the nervous system's like, whoa. And so what happens is what we really need in those moments is like
someone to help us regulate,
or just it's presence. So it's presence over problem solving.
So like, I'll give an example. So like, let's say my son falls and is crying and he comes over to me and he's upset. All I have to really do is just like hold him
and say, what do you want Mama to do?
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Like, what do you need?
I'm here.
Yeah.
And you just, what you do is you drop into your nervous system and you get calm.
Right. And you have to get calm. It's sometimes hard, but like you have to almost
do it. And they kind of start to pick up that. You become the tuning fork, right, for the child. And they feel that. And as you kind of get internally safe, they start to feel that. And they'll start to kind of naturally relax, right? And you just hold them. And you can once in a while ask, like, do you need anything? And if they just stay quiet, you just stay with them. And then you'll kind of feel when they drop and they kind of relax and they'll kind of get up and they'll start going back out and doing what they need to do. And so when you don't have that, right, when you're like, oh, just go to your room, that little T thing becomes, it sticks in your system, it gets sticky.
But is there a way to like, 'cause I'm sure that those things have already happened with my kid.
They happen all the time.
Right. But is there a way to, and I don't know that we've always dealt with it properly because of stress.
And what is proper? I always say ruptures are inevitable. It's the repair that matters.
Right.
And so it's just, in the moments where you can, you do repair where you can.
Yeah.
And then
we always repair after.
And as children get older, they might get stuck on something. Like, right, as your kids get a little older, they'll be more verbal. And they might be like, well, this thing in school. And they just will kind of on a loop. And you just presence with them. And you're like, don't try to fix it. Because when we've talked about this, when you try to fix something, it implies unconsciously that something's wrong.
Right. And then they think something is wrong with them.
And most children who become adults think something's wrong with them. And that just sits in the unconscious, you know, forever until someone addresses it. And it will inform so much of what we attract and what we deal with in our lives.
And it will inform so much of like their self-confidence. If somebody thinks that something is wrong with them and they need to be fixed and they're not enough, then they're going to move through the world that way and they're not going to get the positive things.
It becomes a block, right? It becomes this unconscious block.
And it stems from someone just being present with you to help you regulate your nervous system. That's nuts.
It's very simple.
It's so simple. But we think it's so complicated.
And honestly, we're always like, oh, I don't know how to help. And it's like, no, you don't have to. You don't have to do anything.
Be present.
But being present is so hard for people because the backlog of everyone else's own stuff is the psychic static.
It's the triggers that we have that come alive in those moments. Like, and it does, there are times where I get triggered and there are times where my husband gets triggered and I'm like, you're really triggered right now and this is not helping. Like, I'm going to sit here and try to help him calm down. Because we're human. Like,
it's inevitable.
Right.
And that's all important because kids need to see, everyone needs to see those fluctuations because you don't want it to be perfect. You don't want to be parasympathetic all the time. You need to see the fluctuations. You need to
It's also impossible to be
adaptability.
Adaptability.
That's it. That's everything.
Yeah.
It's how adaptable are you? How, you can't protect anyone. It's really not our jobs to be protecting everything all the time.
No.
That hypervigilance is us trying to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's important to show all the different, I think it's beautiful to show all those different sides and all those different colors and be in that vulnerability because then you really teach resilience and and that's what every human needs to learn, right? Because life isn't going to be super smooth.
No.
And even if it is for a really long time, inevitably at some point in life,
there are going to be
something will
things
happen.
that come.
And how able are you to handle it and adapt? And that's really, so it's like nervous system adaptability really became the goal. And so that somatic tracking for me was like more of an emotional thing of like, okay, I have certain emotions. They make me feel a certain way. They're not good or bad. They're my body speaking to me. And it really helped me get into my body. So then when I started doing that work with Alicia, even though some of her ideology is different, I was so used to tracking my body that her work just landed really, really easily for me. And because I already was so attuned, when you have pain and you're trying to escape your body all the time, it kind of was like, oh, my body is just asking me to listen.
So you had to get back into your body first before you could do that work with her.
Well, I don't think there's even a combination. That was my order, and I believe that helped me.
Got it.
Tremendously. But I've sent people to who have done things. It's like different orders.
You already talked about your training, so I'm not going to ask you about that. I want to ask you about the Ayurvedic body types because I found that to be fascinating. When we worked together, you talked a little bit about it. Can you walk us through, they're called doshas, right? Can you walk us through the doshas, what they actually mean in the body, how they show up in someone's nervous system, and why they matter when we're trying to understand our patterns?
So it's funny. It's kind of like astrology. I love these systems that give you a lens to look at someone through. And also I don't love to harp on them all the time because people get attached. But I find the body types to be just a really fun lens.
Yeah. It's so interesting. That's why I wanted to ask
fun.
about it.
And it stays with people, you know? Dosha is like this funny thing that, I don't even love using a lot of the Sanskrit words when I'm speaking to most people, especially here, because it's like you have to learn a language to learn the system.
So it's just a body type.
So it's similar to like ectomorph, mesomorph, endomorph, and which is like this, you have like these more fiery type, like a fire, water kind of type, like dominant, an earth, water combination, and air and space. The way I would explain it is in Ayurveda, they believe there are 5 elements. You have ether, which is space. You have air. You have fire, water, and earth. And all of these elements make up everything in our universe. And as within, so without. So if it's outside, it's also inside. So we're made up of those things. And so those combinations come together. So space is the container that air moves through.
Okay.
And so those two things together rule our electrical system, which is our nervous system, which is in Ayurveda, they call that vata.
Yeah.
Right. And so then you have fire, which becomes the water, which becomes the container for fire, which is our blood. So it's like hot blood.
Water container
for
fire.
So it's like hot liquid, right? The liquid is the containment for the heat.
Oh, got
right?
it.
Like a hot liquid. And so that is our chemical system. That's our alchemy. That's our digestive system. That's like our muscle. It's like we're so much water, but we're like hot water, basically,
Yeah, because our body temperature is high.
Right. And so that's pitta.
Okay.
And then you have kapha, which is earth, which becomes the container for water. So water gets used twice.
Okay, whatever.
This is what they say.
It is what it is.
The rishis, I don't know. Rishis, above my pay grade to
You don't have
to get too into it right now.
It is what it is.
And so as earth becomes the containment, when you think about in nature, you think of like a pond in earth, right? And so that becomes our lymphatic system and it's our bones, right? Because we have liquid we have cerebral spinal fluid that goes through our bones. So that is like our structure and that is kapha, right? And so I kind of just call them and we all have all of that, right? We all have bones. We all have a chemical system. We all have a nervous system.
So
this idea that I'm just one or the other.
You're not.
No.
You're just dominant of one.
Sometimes.
Or a couple.
So I wasn't allowed to really read at the beginning of my apprenticeship. Everything had to be experienced. And then I could read and kind of see what I believed to be true. And when I did start looking at Ayurvedic books, I was like, this is not my experience of dosha. Like, I think there's 24 body types because I just did the permeability, the probabilities based on what I knew. So, how it's commonly said is like you have one dominant, one second. First, some people just think they're one, right? That's like one version. The next version is there's a dominant, a second, a third. But in my experience, you can also have two that are kind of like, I think of it as like having 3 kids. So it's like, you can have 2 kids and then a little kid. So you can have twins and a little kid, or you can have an oldest kid and then twins, or you can have triplets.
So it can be dominant by 2.
Right. And so there's all these, I've written them all out. There's all these different versions. And even of triplets, right? If you talk to triplets or you talk to twins in real life, there will always be one who's like, well, I'm older by 2 minutes.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. So there's so many variations. So you can actually have 6 variations of triplets. And so then this is something me and my mentor like really sat cognizing for a while.
So cool.
And through seeing so many different people, like this is just how my brain works. I love tracking patterns. And he was really big into like, how do we explain this to people? Why don't we prescribe a wild animal to the different body types? Because animals in nature, if we're trying to help people get back to their nature, how do we help them? Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, look like this celebrity has your body type, because no humans besides tribal humans look healthy. We all are like a little under muscle or two, but you don't see like a lion in nature, like super pumped up and overworked up, or like couch potato lion or like emaciated model lion.
They look
like
beautiful.
And every lion of the same species looks the same, right? They have the same bone density and muscle to fat ratio, which is basically what makes up our body types and our dosha. So it's really, bone density determines how much maximum muscle you can have on your body, which determines how hot you get, which is your metabolic rate. And so based on the way that your bones are structured, it can tell us how much heat gets released or how much heat gets stored, and then on the density of the bones.
Okay.
And so that's how we tell body type, not through tongue diagnosis, not through face, not through hands, because all those things can lie. Because your doshas can be kind of oriented in your body in different ways. Yeah. And so in our system, you go from like the neck to the knees and you look at the bone density and bone structure. And then you take into consideration for women where you are in your hormonal cycle, because that will impact, if you've had a kid or all those things can impact. So you take that into consideration. And then if there's been malnourishment or a history of certain kinds of diseases that would impact bone density, and that can determine the person's innate nature. Yeah. And then most people are never in their nature. We're always fluctuating and changing because that's life. Yeah. And in our system, because it's a warrior system, you would never look at a warrior on the field coming towards you being like, oh, I need to check their pulse to see.
Right. Because you can't do that.
What their body type is. And I'll know their weaknesses and then I'll hit that organ point. No, it's like you have to be able to see it and
like
spot
figure it out and figure out what their weakness is.
Yeah.
So if you were, because we talked a little bit about this. Yeah. If you were to tell me just to give an example so that people understand like how it's expressed, what's my body type and what can you tell me?
I think we said you were a puma.
A puma?
Is that what you remember?
I think so.
Yeah. So you're like so I would say you're like Vata, Pitta dual, but you're Vata twins born first. And so it'd be like that air fire, right? They're like screaming at the same volume at the same time. And then you have your little kids like your kapha. It's like hardest for you to chill. Like for you, a meditation would be easier in movement. So like a Tai Chi or
After
yoga.
You told me that, I did realize, by the way, that it is much easier.
Yeah. To focus. Yes. When there's kind of motion.
Yes.
Or something to focus on.
Yes. Just like a voice. Like a
guidance or something.
Guided meditations are so much easier.
It allows for your system to decompress. Whereas like a denser body type will have, can sit more easily, like mine. Right? Yeah. I'm Vata Kapha dual dosha but kapha is my second instead of pitta. And so I have like the same percentage of vata as you do. It's why we can kind of go on and on.
But you have more earth.
But I have earth where you have fire. So where you're like, oh yeah, I can like go get it.
Yeah.
I have this like the
Chill.
yeah. So it's like my competitors are like really
different.
Yeah, and so are yours, but they're all different in different ways.
Yeah.
And so when you learn those things about your body, you understand like, you know, a little bit more about your nature, because understanding your metabolism and your nature and like your output and your energy levels and how to support that, you can learn how to optimize. You can understand where you go out, or like the signs of when I'm out of balance, this is what it looks like.
Is that why my metabolism tends to be like,
yeah,
go like this?
It's like electric and hot. And so depending on your stress levels and how you're doing, you like sometimes you can go into like food aversion. You know, we talked about like there's different things that happen to certain body types, and there's these certain patterns. And because I'm a pattern person, I just got obsessed with like I would literally like watch TV shows or be at the airport or wherever I was, and I was like that body type, that I was just everything became.
You wanted to figure them all out.
Yeah. And I studied like different characters and different archetypes and different things. And I was like, oh, where does body type fall into that? How is it different? How is it the same? And so it's been a study and of the different ages, right? I'll meet like your body type and genetics, right? So I could see a puma from a cold country genetics like yours, or there might be pumas from a warmer country genetics. They're going to have slightly lower bone density, right? So you take all these different things into consideration. So like someone from South America who's similar, who's like the same body types, you could look different because closer to the equator genetics are going to tend to have a little bit lighter bone density and just like a different ratio.
Wow.
So I just got really obsessive.
So there's just like so many different factors.
Yeah, a lot of different factors and variations, but it became something that I was like, oh, this is so interesting.
Yeah.
And it was such a fun study because I also help people with diet and understanding food. And so much of that is connected to your metabolism and the sensitivities and the emotional aspects of food. Having my background and all that I'd been through, it was important for me. That was what drew me to Ayurveda. Was I want to understand my body and how to feed it and like fuel my car the right way.
Yeah.
And help other people do that too.
Yeah.
You know, because it's the most intimate thing besides having a child, right? Like, because when you have a child, there's cells that go into your heart from them that never leave you.
No,
ever.
it's wild. It's so crazy.
But besides for that, food becomes you. It's you. You know, if yoga is the union of breath with a union of you with your breath, like a union with yourself through breath, then Ayurveda is the union of you and nature through food.
Yeah.
You know,
it is.
Yeah.
One more question before we do the wrap up questions. Because the conversation just flowed.
Sorry.
So it didn't. No, it's better that way.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you, because we spoke about this, I wanted to ask you about the masculine and the feminine. You speak about developed and undeveloped masculine and feminine energy. How does each one express itself somatically?
Well, somatically is interesting because I don't know if I've quite even thought about it that way.
Or just not that way. Just how does, you talked a little bit about like the undeveloped masculine and feminine. So like, can you just...
Yeah. And I think they do have a somatic imprint too. I think the way I think about it is, you know, people will call it like, people have a lot of different terms for this. I'll call it toxic or divine or whatever. And I like undeveloped and developed because it feels just lighter. But there's like the inner, you know, the inner layer of like, almost like the kind of wounded, like the wounded inner child kind of archetypes that we have of like, okay, the undeveloped kind of younger parts of ourselves, right? And we all have that inner masculine and feminine. So we have those versions, and then we have these more like matured adult versions. And how do they all interact? And, you know, I would say the difference between like an underdeveloped masculine energy in ourselves is the part that's like, it's control, it's trying to fix everything. It's like the analytical, like very weighing and measuring everything. And it's like, if I can see it, I believe it, I control it. It's like, that's kind of that kind of more undeveloped masculine, right? Because when we're younger, everything's just literal. But then as we get older, we realize like how not literal life actually is, right? There's like all this gray area. Yeah. And we're like, oh wait, I used to think that is what that meant, right? Yeah. And so that part of the psyche develops, and it's like actually presence over problem solving, right? Because a developed masculine energy is going to be a container. It's containment. It learns, it's steady. There's a stillness. There is and it's just presence. It's like, it's kind of what we were talking about before. In the Vedic system, like if you have like man and woman, like a partnership and then a child, the man is creating the containment and the presencing for the feminine energy. And then the feminine energy creates the containment for the child. So there's like this interesting kind of dynamic. And that's where she kind of uses both her skills in that way. Mm-hmm. And that's like one of the ways I've heard it described in that system.
Okay.
And so like it's that presencing over problem solving. It's the just beingness, right? It's that being. Whereas like for the feminine, there's like this, you kind of have like the chaos, like the wild, chaotic feminine, which is amazing and beautiful. But there's like, when it's wounded, that undeveloped feminine can be, you know, like a little, I think the word victim is hard, but there can be like some of that, like it's almost like no control. It's like kind of just like pure chaos, actually, in a way. Mm-hmm. And it can be deceptive and has like a manipulative kind of nature to it. And then the more developed feminine is like, it's not that it's controlling the chaos. It's like actually embodying the void. It's embodying possibility without it being chaotic. So there's almost a stillness in that. It's like, no, I am the void.
Yeah. How does one like develop those more?
It's a process of getting to know your unconscious and a process of getting to know yourself. And I think life will present ample opportunity and challenge to get to know yourself better. Like, I believe there's no such thing as getting to know another person. We are here to get to know ourselves. And through relationship, we learn where we end and something else begins. Mm-hmm. And that I do believe there is like something about relating and, you know, relating to nature, relating to food, relating to other people that we learn to kind of, oh, this gets me that attention, right? There's like, you have like kind of like underdeveloped feminine. It's like attention seeking. It's like, oh, if I do this, it kind of acts like a young child. Both the undeveloped, mm-hmm. they act like young children. Yeah. And you see people, it's performative. It's, if I do this, I'll get this. Whereas the developed stages of that are more like, no, there's a power in the quiet. There's a power in a stillness. It doesn't mean that I'm not complex and that I'm not deep and that I'm not a vortex of my own. But it's like there's a sense of, I know how to contain this for myself, mm-hmm. you know, and not to spill over, how to kind of just relate in a way that feels, I'm not going to overwhelm. I'm going to be appropriately matching and meeting the circumstance, which is, it's like a dance. And that to me is really like a science of understanding how to be a steward of your own life force and your creative energy. Yeah. You know, and I think it's a consciousness and it's an awareness, but like Jungian psychology is amazing for that. And I think is like a really nice process. There's these books that a mentor of mine, my friend Goldie, I work with her. She does a lot of like Jungian dream work. And she turned me on to these books, He, She, and We. I believe they're by Robert Johnson. And they kind of talk about the mythology around like using Jungian psychology and mythology to understand mm-hmm. how the feminine consciousness kind of develops and how the masculine does. And I find those books are remarkable. And like, you could read them 1,000,000 times. And
maybe I should check them out.
I'm not a big reader, but when she gives me homework, I do my homework. So I recommend.
I wanted to ask you one more question. Yeah. And this is about yourself. Mm-hmm. If you could go back, what's one thing you would tell your younger self?
It's safe to be you. Yeah, I think, I don't know. I carry a witch wound a little bit. You know, it's like being in your full power, whatever. But like, yeah, it's safe to be you.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I'm going to end with a prayer.
Okay.
May we carry what we need, release what we don't, and stay open to the magic that is unfolding. Thank you for sipping your tea and sharing your heart with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was
beautiful. Thanks for listening to No Matcha, No Mama. If you loved the episode, share with a friend, leave a review, or come say hi on Instagram. My handle's @Dina De Laurentiis. If you want to connect with my lovely guest, Katie, her Instagram handle is The Key, and I'll link it below. And please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube and my Spotify if you never want to miss an episode. And remember, thriving takes intention. See you next time.